I now I've got basically we have one full coat of material on everything. I've got just a coat of either epoxy or polyethylene back on here, and then we've got glass over everything else. Here's our flap, and here's our hatch cover. So everything's got the first coat on it. And there's a few things that I've forgotten that I wanted to go over again. One thing is, in this I've been using West Epoxy with the slow hardener. If I had it to do over again, I'd use their 209 extra slow hardener, because when you're doing a big surface like this, if it starts to set up, it gets hard to work with. So whether you're using polyurethane or you're using epoxy, make sure that it's not going to start setting up before you get done. Another problem when it starts to set up, then when you're rolling the toilet paper over, it might leave some little fuzzy things that are a little bit harder to sand off. So the bottom line is, try to make sure that you set your material up so that it doesn't start to harden up on you before you're done. The other thing I wanted to mention is, let's say you break something or something's wrong here, you can just lay a whole new patch of the glass cloth over this, suck the stuff out of it, re-epoxy it or polyurethane it, and you can sand it and feather it in, and it'll be just like it was never there. You'll never see it. I'm looking at some notes here. Now, when I was cutting off the extra glass cloth, I was using dry 150 sandpaper, and that just loads up. There's nothing you can do about that, so if it loads up on you, just throw it away. You're not doing that much. And we're done. We're finished with dry sandpaper. From now on, everything's wet because there's no more bare wood. I was going to say also, in general, if you can stand the smell, my preference is to use polyurethane. And let's see what else. The other thing is, the glass cloth just goes around curves like you wouldn't believe. You have to try it, see it. You can do all the big curves much even better than putting on monocoat or ultracoat or anything. And that's it. Now my next step is, what I do, I use the 3M, we used to call it, used to be named Triamite, but anyways, 3M wet and dry sandpaper. I use 220, 320, and 400. And what I do is I cut up little piles of it. Here's my 400s, here's my 300s, and here's my 200s. And it'll depend on what I'm doing. And then you want a bucket of water to dip your sandpaper in. We used to call it no-load sandpaper too. You can just wash the loaded up part off and use that piece until it's worn out. You want a spray bottle of water. And now what I'm going to do here for this is, I'm going to give a light sanding of this. And again, everything's wet from now on, so I'll use number 3. And actually, so I don't mix these up, I write like a 3 on my 320s and a 4 on the back of each piece of this. So now this is just a light sanding, because the real coat is coming. Okay, so you do that. You want to have plenty of paper towels around to dry this off. And all we're doing now is basically roughing it up for the main coat that's about to come. So I can just lightly wet sand all this. Okay. Then on the surfaces that have the glass cloth, you want to use 400, and you just want to barely touch it, because otherwise you're going to sand off your cloth. So all we're doing is just roughing it up so that the next coat will stick good. And then also on the glass, after I've done this really light sanding, like I just did here, of the glass cloth, then I get a piece of paper towel, and just before you put on the next coat, you wipe it all down with acetone. Let that evaporate off. So now we've got this etched pretty good for this next coat. Now, and I'm not going to show you this, I'm going to basically paint on an entire coat of either epoxy or polyurethane, whatever I'm doing. Oh, I forgot, by the way, on the two spots here where you had patched it in where there's actually no cloth, you might want to sand that with 320. Again, all we're doing is getting everything rough. So here's this, and then underneath here, here's that where that booger was. So get that sanded. And anyways, so now just mix up a batch of the of whatever medium you're using, and we're going to paint it on. For me it takes 2 days because I paint one side and then I paint the other. So now everything's going to get one more coat of the medium, and I'll be back to show you that after I painted that on. I need to show you how I did it. The